Okay, we have a 2016 Jeep Wrangler, and we've got a brake caliper sticking, and I think it is the brake hose that is probably collapsed. We are going to replace the brake hose on the driver's side, and we are going to check the brake pads. I went ahead and got some. Also got the brake hose for the other side, just in case it has been dragging for quite a while, just to make sure that it hasn't gotten completely nuked. But come back to you and we'll be digging in. Okay, so what we got is, I'm thinking this brake line right here, you can see it, this one, I'm thinking it's collapsed somewhere. Can't really tell from the outside, but connects right there. This thing is completely jammed up. I'm gonna see if this caliper will release, but it's probably gonna be hard to compress because the fluid is tough to get back through this line. So we'll give it a shot. I'm gonna set you guys up. We're gonna get to it. Okay, I think I got you guys set up. We're gonna try and compress this thing. This C-clamp's big enough. Again, this is a 2016 Jeep Wrangler. I didn't really expect to be working on this thing already, but let's see what we got here. How'd I have to work? See what we can do. Loosen this thing up. Yeah, it's tough. See if it loosened up enough to. Yeah. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and take this caliper off of here. I'm using metric. This is 13 millimeter.
Okay. I have Ava's ready. Billy, what do you want your cheeseburger taco?
Cheeseburger tacos.
Do you want ketchup? Ketchup, dip it in?
We're spinning.
Okay.
15 it is. Sometimes you get lucky, you don't have to hold that, but in this case we did. No big deal. Alright, I'm gonna roll it up, slide it out. Set this up here. Pads are pretty thin. Hoping you can see that. Pads are pretty thin. We're going to probably go ahead and replace these while we're in here. Okay. That slide's good. The other side was good. I'm going to loosen up this banjo bolt back here. I'm going to verify this piston will move. And if this piston moves easily with no fluid pressure, that means most likely this line is collapsed somewhere. That is also 15. Okay, we just cracked it loose. Put this caliper over. Put a brake pad back in it. Gives you something to push on. C-clamp back. And this should push easy, which it is. Pushing very easy. So we know, I'm not going to make a mess. We know the hose is the problem, because this is moving very easy, so the piston itself is not seized inside the caliper. So we're going to move forward with the line replacement. Okay, we're back. The part number, I got it Napa. It is, if that'll focus, 682948. This is driver's side, that's left side. Brake hose. We're going to verify it looks right before we crack any more stuff loose. In the kit, you get the new hose, and you do get new crush washers for the banjo bolt that we just broke loose. So that looks like it attaches right there, which looks correct. Comes down, loops through there, which looks correct, and up to the banjo fitting, which also looks correct. So we're going to move forward with this installation. So we're going to start to make sure that this brake line will break loose. Alright, that looking like a 13 or ½ inch. I'll go with ½ inch. It broke loose, no issues. You always want to make sure when you're breaking a line loose that the fitting is turning and the line itself is not turning. If the line itself starts turning, oh, bump the camera. If the line itself is turning, you must stop. You will shear that line off. You go back and forth. As you can see, I don't know if you can tell, the fluid is starting to flow, so we have broken loose, so we're good there. But we're not going to take it all the way off until we're ready to put the new one on, because I don't want to lose all the brake fluid that's in there. So I've gone back and forth with it. It's flowing pretty good. So we're going to tighten this back down so that it quits leaking. That way we don't drain all the fluid out of the system. We'll go ahead and detach the rest of it. That'll be the last thing we take off, and then the new line will get plugged right back into it quickly. Let's go ahead and bust this loose. I'm thinking that's a 10 millimeter. Grab a 10. It is indeed. We're going to go ahead and get that loose. Ready to come out. That's going to be good. We're going to go ahead and pop this clip off. I'm not sure if we had to do that, but let's go ahead and get it loose, easier to work with. Follow the line down. We're going to detach where the wheel speed sensor attaches. We're going to detach all those from the brake line. Let's see if I can get you turned around here. Alright, now we're gonna keep going, popping these clips off of here. I really need to go get my, tool. Alright, I went and got my little clip grommet tool to make this much better. Pop it right out of there. Okay, now our wheel speed sensor is completely detached from the brake line. Our banjo bolt is loose. Let's go ahead and break. There's a bolt right here, and it holds this main piece right here. it's going to be threaded into this nut. I'm going to take it off, and that should loosen us up. Neutral drop. Pull that bolt. Now our line is free. Now there may be a trick to getting this thing out of here. Okay, so if you see this end here, this end right here, it's in a notch back there, so you got to kind of pop this end out and slide the whole thing this way. Alright, so let's go ahead and take the banjo bolt out. We're going to need to save that. Reuse the banjo bolt. This one is going to start making a mess. Alright, the banjo bolt is out. Caliper is set to the side. I always put the end up so that it doesn't leak everywhere. Most of it probably already came out. Now we're ready. You're going to want to have your new line ready to go, because as soon as we take this line loose, the system's going to keep draining. So we're going to switch back over to a 10mm and detach the brake line. Alright, we'll take this out the rest of the way. Probably shouldn't have done that yet. See how tight this. I may have to run this back in temporarily. So you want to leave that in just a little bit, because you got a wrench on this here. Alright, keep going. There she goes. About to break loose now. We were running out by hand. Now that line is free. Got my thumb over the end of it to keep it from leaking. We're going to come in and take it out, not in. Take this old line out. Alright, old line's out. We're going to run the new line up, and with our fingers, before we ever attach it, we're going to go ahead and get this line started. So you get some turns on it with your fingers. You slowly kind of move it in there. You want to make sure you're not cross-threading. Cross-threading would be a problem. So now it's slowly bleeding into that line, so it's not coming out anymore. So now we're going to reattach. You have to rob one of these clips. There's a clip. This one. We need to slide it off of there, if we can. I'll show you how it goes on. It just slides around from the back and then pushes on from the back side, just like that. Now we're free to attach that. Go ahead and line that up. Get that bolt started by hand. Now we can go ahead and continue this. Okay, that's pretty well tight. We are starting to leak out the bottom, so we need to go ahead and get this run through here. and get it onto the caliper. As you can see, we're leaking out pretty good here. So we need to get this run about where it's going to go there. On that slot. Now I've got my fingers pinched on the end of this to keep it from leaking. You gotta get that slot lined up just like that. And we're gonna run our bolt in. Get it started by hand, run it in. That'll tighten down that. Now I still got my fingers pinched over this so it's not leaking anymore. We're going to orient it the way it's supposed to go. We're going to go ahead and take the caliper and hang it back in the slides where it goes. That way we know exactly which way this is supposed to go. Just like that. Do we take our banjo bolt, verify there's no crush washers. You'll get your new crush washers out. Put one on one side. Verify which way it's going to go. I believe it's just like that. So we're going to run our bolt in from this direction. Put another crush washer on the back side. And we're going to thread it in. Run it in by hand. I'm going to switch over. Run in the rest of the way. We'll torque that down in a minute. That'll keep us from leaking. Now we need to verify fluid level in the master cylinder. Right back. Alright, when it verified we had lost some fluid, as y'all can see, but we were still right at the minimum mark in the master cylinder, so I brought us back up. That'll give us enough to bleed out. Then we still have to compress the other side and continue to compress this side to put the pads on. So we should be good to go, and then once we're done putting the pads on, we'll bleed it out, gravity bleed it, and then we'll top off, be the last thing. We're going to continue by hooking the wheel speed sensors back, clipping them back on to the brake line where they go. All you do is slide these clips up and down that come on the new hose. Slide them up and down to match the rubber grommets that are already on the ABS sensors. Might have to mess with it a little bit, get it where it needs to be. Alright, we're just about done. Alright, so that's wired back where it needs to go. So next, we're going to go ahead and bleed this, gravity bleed this caliper where it sits so that I'm not compressing air back up in the system. I'll put this slide bolt back in just to hold it. I'm not going to tighten it down, just so I can loosen this bleeder. Might be a 10. Nope, 7/16, alright. So we get that loose. We want to let this flow. Gravity bleeding, once you see fluid coming out of this point, this is now the high point down here on the brake caliper. So as the fluid travels, it'll fill this piston up. That's the highest point. So once fluid starts coming out of here, you know that all the air is out of this caliper and out of this line, because it's pushing all the way down. So we just let this sit until we see fluid. Okay, now we see we got fluid dripping out. We're going to go ahead and tighten this back down. Okay, so now we've bled it out. Put our cap back on. Now we can remove this lower bolt again. Roll this back up here. Now we can go ahead and put this brake pad back in, the old one. And we're going to use the C-clamp to continue to compress this flat. It's moving very easy now. Alright, the slides are clean. We don't need to relube those look good. Go ahead and get the new pads and put them on. Okay, change of plans. The brake pads we got are incorrect. So for now, we're going to put the old pads back on because the primary problem was the brakes were grabbing. So we will put the old brake pads back on. And we will continue on another day for the replacing of the brake pads. However, the process will be the same. You would get some lube. I'm going to lube up the ends so that they glide easy. Squealers typically go on the inside, but typically you want to follow however they came out. And do the same for the outside pad. Kind of put them in there at an angle first, then roll them right in. Again, we're putting the old pads back on because the new pads we ordered are incorrect, and we're going to be coming back at another day and doing this. But for now, we got to get this thing rolling. So, old pads it is. So we may or may not need to use the 15 to hold this. We're going to try without first. And it took it right out of my hand. So we're tight there. Now we need to go back, tighten up our banjo bolt. Now that everything's tight, we can get it torqued. I don't have the torque specs for this, but do things enough, you kind of know. Look up your torque specs. Good and tight. That ought to do it. Now we'll hit the brake pad. We'll hit the brake pedal. Push that caliper back out. See if its wheels still turn.
Did you end up using that footage?
Which?
The hail?
Yeah. And I'm going to use this footage.
Tag me! Don't tag me.
Oh no. Alright, now we're going to pick some stuff up. And then we're going to hose this. We're going to clean our tools off here. I have a clean rag floating around there somewhere. There it is. Clean our tools off. I hate antifreeze and brake fluid. Hate it. I want to thank my lovely little sister for allowing me to film her Jeep. You can leave her a lovely comment. Okay, brake clean everything. Brand new, fresh rebuild. Who says that? One of you YouTubers say it. I forget. Oh, Vice Grip Garage. Yep, that's where I get my torque specs from too. Well guys, that about wraps it up for this Jeep. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Please leave a comment, consider subscribing, give us a like. Take care. What are we doing?
Putting our first KOA sticker on.
First camping trip sticker, not just KOA.